you guys, welcome back to the channel. And today we are out here at the beautiful Great Sand Dunes here in Colorado. Now, right now the sun is setting. We're currently in golden hour, which is really nice. We're getting beautiful soft light over the dunes, but tonight is something interesting. It's going to be unique, and this is something I haven't done in a while. And what we're actually doing tonight is we're going to be shooting, because we have no clouds, right? We have some coming in from the east, but they're way out there. We're actually going to be shooting star trails. Now, the Milky Way is kind of primed. It's just to the left of this branch. It's going to come up right here and then slowly move to the right. And as it moves, it will then eventually show the core. And so I want to talk about specifically doing multiple photos to get streaking star trails. Now, for me, I love to use a handy dandy app called Photo Pills. Okay, Photo Pills is how I literally plan all my shots. It's a huge lifesaver, and I want to clarify, I'm not getting paid by this company to promote them or anything like that. It's an app that I love, and it's an app that I swear by because it's a great way to level up your photography. And not just that, but they also, when you go into Photo Pills, you actually get access to all of their PDFs for free. So you can download them and read through them. You know, especially when it comes to like doing sunrise, sunset, shooting at golden hour, shooting long exposure, Milky Way, star trails, anything you can think of when it comes to landscape photography specifically, they cover it. Now, for us, right, golden hour started at 1843, 6:43. I like to use world time because I don't like AM and PM. And it just makes it easier, because if I say, oh, I'm shooting at 6, well, I'm shooting at 6 in the morning. If I say I'm shooting at 18, I'm shooting at 6 at night, right? So there's no confusion. So to convert it, just take the second number, subtract 2. So in this case, 18, 8 minus 2 is 6, 6 o'clock. So we're currently getting ready to be in blue hour. We have a couple more minutes of golden hour, right? Because it's only 1924, and blue hour officially starts at 1934. So right now it's 1924. We have a couple of minutes, but we want to shoot through the entire blue hour. Blue hour isn't long, so it's going to go from 1934 to 1944, right? So we have about 10 minutes of blue hour. So every minute I am going to take a photo, so that way I have 10 photos. Now, this is very important. I don't just want to shoot through blue hour, but I want to shoot through blue hour into astronomical hour, which begins at 2015. And the reason why is because when we shoot through that blue hour, that's going to allow us to see the transition from bright sky and nice warm colors that we're seeing in the cloud to a nice cool color. And when we're shooting star trails, you want to be able to have that layer to then build upon. So you're going to take your base layer for your blue hour shot, whichever one you like, and then we're going to take, you know, a couple hundreds of photos. Probably, you know, I'm going to shoot for 2.5 to 3 hours because I want to capture the streaking. Now, when I go to do that, I have to put my camera in bulb mode because I'm going to be using my shutter remote. So my shutter remote is set up to 32 seconds. I'm going to push it a little bit because I want to, because being in bulb mode, right, we can do up to 2 minutes, we can do 4 minutes. Coming back to the blue hour shot, right, we want to be able to pick out a good one. Now, something that I am going to incorporate is our phones have lights. And probably at one point, I might light up the side of the log just to give it a little bit of color and some pop. And coming to shooting the stars, now this is where a lot of people fail, okay? When you're just starting out with astrophotography, I highly recommend starting out shooting, 1 to 2 hours at night. to build your confidence, okay? And the reason why is that's a good beginner median to start with, because you're, within 2 hours, you're going to have roughly between, depending on how long your exposures are, which because we're doing star trails, we're doing 30 seconds. In my case, 32 to be exact. You're going to take a photo every 30 seconds. So if you're taking a photo every 30 seconds, right, there's 2 photos a minute, right? So let me pull out my handy dandy calculator because, math is complicated. So there's 60 minutes in a minute. So if we're doing every 30 seconds, that means we're taking 2 photos a minute. So if we're taking 2 photos a minute, 2 times 60, that's 120. Times that by 2, now you're looking at 240 photos that you're going to have to go through and blend together. Now, it sounds like a daunting process, right? But in reality, it's not that bad. What we'll end up doing is we'll go into Photoshop, and then we will take our base layer that we're going to work off of, and then from there, we'll save it to a separate file as a TIFF. Once we save it to a separate file as a TIFF, then we will start going in increments of 10, and we'll start from, the beginning to the end, and every 10 or 20, 15, however you want to do it, depending on your computer processing power, right? So in my case, the sweet spot is 10 for my computer. I'll do 10 photos at a time. So I'll take 10 photos, load them, and then I will then start building my streak. So I'll do 10, and then I'll take that and save it, and then I'll do another 10, take that and save it. And then in that case, right, now I'm going from, 200-300 photos to 10, 15, 20 files that I can then import on top of my base layer, where we can then complete the cycle. Now, I do plan on showing you this in Photoshop as we go through it when we get back to my computer. Now, coming back to the camera, it's very important that you use a shutter release, because you don't want a gap. You don't want a gap in between your stars. So if you can't use it and you have to utilize your internal camera timer, what that then means is you're going to have a second gap. If you're going to have a second gap, it's okay, it's an easy fix, but just know, if you're wondering why there's a gap in your stars, that's why. Because if you take 200 to 300 photos and it's a 30-second with a 1-second delay, it after a while will then start creating a skipping effect. And you can go in with, a paintbrush and select a pixel, open it in a new tab, and, fill that in if you wanted to. Or you just go out, buy a shutter remote. You can get them on Amazon for like $1 or $2. Or if you're like me, I think I ended up investing in a good one. I ended up getting a Hanpusen, Hanpusen. I think it was like $35-40 for it. Haven't had any issues with it. Right now it is plugged in and it's ready to go. The other thing you want to do, right, so when it comes to Astro, you're going to open up your f-stop as wide as it goes. So in my case, because I'm using a 2.8, that's what I'm going to go to. Now, I know the sand dunes is a dark night. Am I going to shoot at 2.8? No, I'm probably going to shoot at 4 with an ISO of 1600. Now, you can do a long exposure if you want to, but please read your manual, because you can burn up your sensor. You can burn up your sensor really, really quick. And in my case, the process that I'm doing, I'm keeping it at low because I don't want to burn up my sensor. I can do a long 1-hour exposure, but if your camera moves, if it falls, or anything goes like that, you lose your shot. But if I lose 1 frame, that's an easy fix. So now we're just waiting for blue hour to start. We're getting beautiful pink and blue, or beautiful pink, magenta, and orange behind us as the sun has finally set behind the mountains. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it. Hit that like button. Please subscribe. It helps me out a lot, especially as we go on our an amazing venture. And spoiler alert, in June, we have an amazing trip coming up. I know we've been working on our portfolio series, and this is a part of it. This photo is probably going to end up in my portfolio, depending on how well it turns out. And if it turns out really good and I like it, then yeah, I'm going to add it to my portfolio. As we go through that whole process of putting a book together, looking at the paper and how that whole process goes, right? But we're still talking about what goes in to a portfolio. So we're not even there yet, right? We have a whole year on working on this project. And so as we progress in it, it's going to get harder and harder, and we're going to shoot more and more. Come summertime, I'm not going to be talking about what goes into it. I'm actually going to be on site shooting, and you'll be following me on this amazing journey as I'm out in the mountains getting these beautiful photos, right? I have one more surgery that I have to go through for my left leg, which is called a fasciotomy. And they're going to go in, cut my muscle, and essentially your muscles are supposed to expand and contract. And in my case, the fasciae that hold your muscle together doesn't want to allow my muscles to expand, so it creates pressure on my nerves and it hurts my feet. So we're going to go in, fix that, and we'll be good for the Philippines, and we'll be good for the summer, going out, getting our photos that will eventually end up in our portfolio. Some of them we're going to end up in there, some of them won't. Some I'm going to like, some I'm not going to like. But that's how this whole process goes.
Hey you guys. Welcome back. So, we were at the sand dunes shooting, right? We were talking about doing star trails and how that whole process goes and what it looks like. So, overall, we ended up having 223 photos that I pulled in, and I started from the photo that I want to start with. I really liked how this one turned out. I actually ended up, this light down here is artificial. I used my phone to kind of brighten this up to help give it some depth, because we have a nice bright spot that's going to pull us in, and this is going to act kind of like a leading line pulling us up to the sky where we're going to create the star trails. Now, I'm not worried about this highlight blowout over here because we are going to replace it, right? So we have a really clean sky. We do have a little cloud, which is okay, but it's going to create a really interesting effect that I'm going to enjoy. So, right, going through it, so as we were going through it, right, so these first couple of shots, starting right here, these first couple of shots I was testing. So this shot was at ISO 1600 for 30 seconds at 4.5. Then I upped it to a 5, so I went from 4.5 to f5, and everything is still the same, 16 at 30 seconds, which I'm like, okay, we're still kind of bright. So because I'm already at 30 seconds, I'm adjusting my ISO, so I brought it down, and then, now so this was 1250, 1000, and then I really liked this because it's bright enough that I can see the stars, but not too bright that I'm introducing a bunch of noise. So as the stars continue, right, we can see the travel. So that's all sped up. So we're going to get some really good trails because, right, all of the photos we're taking at 31 seconds. And we can see, if we keep an eye on this bright star right here, right, it goes a perfect good circle. So we'll get really good star trails, right? So starting right here, this star, watch where it goes, right? It's going to be continuous. See, it's going right here. So right here so we got a pretty good trail. So that's good. Now, tangent. So we're looking at my screen. See all of these red and green pixels? Those are called hot pixels. It's information that's not showing up. For some reason, My camera is having issues, and this is why I'm upgrading from the EOS R6. I'll probably either upgrade to the 6D Mark II that they brought out or an R5. I haven't decided yet. There's pros and cons that I'm weighing, but because we're stacking, we're going to have a big file. So let's go ahead and dive into it. So let's start with my base photo, which is going to be this. We're going to go ahead and do our light fall off and sharpness fall off. Right, adjustment. We're going to bring down the highlights. Open up the shadows just a little. Kind of cool it off. We don't want to go too cool. Bring up the saturation a little. Let's do 20. There we go. Let's bring down the blacks. Give a little punch. Looks pretty good. Now, I know I'm highlight clipping over here, but I'm not looking at that because, again, we're going to be replacing that. But I do want to blend some of the darkness in this. So this is a pretty good spot. So we'll copy, apply that. There we go. And now, Control, click, export, export. 16-bit, and we'll go to Photoshop. Alright, you guys, so we have the photos in here. I went on ahead and stacked them, right? So there's our dark exposure, our bright exposure, and it's really cool. If we look back here, you have that light that comes on and off, and that was because a hiker was still coming out from the backside of the sand dunes, but we'll decide if we want to keep that or remove it. We'll probably remove it. So what I want to do is I want to blend this in with this. So we have two options. We can either do it dark to bright or bright to dark. In this case, I'm going to do bright to dark. And so, right, so we have a layer right here. If you don't have a TK, for those of you that aren't using a TK8 panel, what you can do is, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. You're going to hit this button right here, which is going to create a white mask. Double click it, invert, and there you go. So very simple. Now we want to make sure we're painting with white, not black, because it's already black. So if it's black, you can't paint black on black. So now what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and painterly like, we're going to hit B, painterly like, we're going to adjust some of these highlights, right? So let's go to 15%. I was changing my opacity, and let's darken some of this up because I feel that it's a little too bright. All right, there we go. Because we really want this tree to pop. And we don't want it to look too artificial. In a way, it's kind of like we're dodging and burning, but instead of using like a paint pixel, we're actually using part of the photo. And what this is going to do is help give it some depth, right? Because we can come in here and add areas that are kind of dark. See, and look at that, we're already, right, looks much better. And actually, I think that's pretty good. I think we'll stop right there. I like that. That looks pretty good. Yeah, there we go. That's pretty balanced. I like that. All right, so now what we're going to do is let's go ahead and put this into a folder, right? And this will be base blend. we'll do is we're going to hop back over to capture one, and now I'm going to select all of these photos, shift, right click, export. Now we're not going to export it to Photoshop directly. This is a 221 photos, okay? Okay, so we pasted our settings so everything is the same. We're going to right click, export. Now I want to export as a JPEG, not a TIFF. It's pretty much megapixel size. Because we're going to be stacking these, it's just easier to work with a JPEG. And this is really the only time you see me working with a JPEG. But again, the stuff we're doing to the stars is not that relevant. So we'll go ahead and export this. So we finally got those photos exported. All right. Now, because we exported them as a JPEG, I'm going to import all of them. So what we're going to do is come up here to File, Import, Scripts, load files into a stack. And then, there we go. We got them all loaded. Then we're going to hit OK. All right, so as you can see, we finally got all of our photos imported, okay? And what we're gonna do is start by scrolling all the way down, selecting normal to lighten, right? And what it's doing is it's pulling all of the light that has shown up from cars passing by, from hikers hiking, you know, from the highest point in the sand dune and coming down, right? But that's not what we care about. We care about is the stars, and these are pretty good. So now what we're gonna do is, I know that we had a total of 221. Okay, and I'm just writing that down as a note so I don't forget. So what I'm going to do is start by selecting the first layer and making it green, right? This is going to stay 100%. And the reason why I'm doing this is we're going to make star trails, right? You can go bottom to top or top to bottom. Either way, it's up to you. So that one gives me 220. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to select those. We're going to make those also green. So we have 7. And then the next 3 are also going to be 100. So that now gives us, because we have 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, I miscounted. I need to do one more, not 3. I need to do 4. Oop. There we go. Now we can do 3. And then we're going to do 99. And then the next 3. 98. All right. Now I'm going to go through this whole process, and I'm just going to speed up the video for you guys because this is going to take me a minute. All right, so we got them all stacked, and we have our trails, right, going left to right. Um, and these are actually looking pretty good. These are, got a few little gaps, but that's easy to fill in, um, which I'm not too worried about, but they look really good. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to select them all, and then we are going to then put into a folder. This view is on your keyboard. Now we have two ways we can do this. I'm going to show you my way. I like to put it into a folder, so you select them all and then just group them in a folder right here, right? And then Alt Control Shift E, that makes a duplicate of it. Now because we exported these as JPEGs, what you need to check is you're going to come up here to mode, and I exported my TIFFs at 16-bit, and the JPEGs were exported as an 8-bit, so I need to convert it to 16-bit. From there, you're going to click the photo after it's done processing, Control C, go to the layer, and then Control V, and paste it over here. And then from there, if hypothetically sometimes it transfers because it's smaller, you're going to go to Lighten and change it to Difference. And from there, Control T. And what that's going to allow you to do is after you stretch it, you can then line it up. And then go back to Lighten, and there you go. And then click the check mark, and now we have it lined up. So here's the fun part. I want to blend in the trails, but before I do that, we're going to open this up in Camera Raw, and we're going to process this photo. There we go. Alright, so now we finally got Adobe Camera Raw open, and it's the same kind of setup as in Caption One. So we're going to bring down the highlights, and then bring up the whites. Oop, too much. Bring up the whites. Bring down the blacks, too much. I'm not worried about this. Yes, I know I'm shadow clipping, but I'm not worried about that. And then bring down the whites just a little bit more. 20. Let's do 20. There we go. And I'm only focusing on the stars right now. There we go. And then I'm going to take this one, Alt Control Shift E. Okay, so after we make a copy of this, we're going to drag it up to the top. Right, so Alt Control Shift E, drag it up here, and then put the mask on. Right, so draw, double click, invert to black, and then select the sky and then highlight it in, right? And so now we have a really good blend. And now here's the fun part. We're gonna zoom way in. Let's pick a pixel. Let's see, let's go with Alright, so now that we have it copied and colored in, we're going to come over here and we're going to just add in these lights and just connecting them. Alright. We just want to go take our time, kind of space it out a little, right? You know, kind of make it look like a trail. There we go. And see, what I'm looking at is the hills. Oh, there we go. That works out perfectly because it's, yeah, that looks really good. All right, perfect. Look at that. And so, you know, this is essentially the whole process to putting stories together, right? And that's what we're essentially doing. So we were able to blend it in, we were able to stack them and go through that whole process. Now, we were able to create our star trails, and, you know, we'll go in and I'll touch up the branches and take my time fixing it. But yeah, please hit that like button, please subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.